Podium Esports Daytona tonight, but maybe I'll do it after that. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. Oh. Alright, they want the paint stream. Alright, we'll do the paint stream right now. You guys. You guys. Okay, I got it saved. Okay, so custom nameplate for the night. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go on Gimp here.
Hey, nice desktop background.
Oh, yeah, look at this, guys. Air, does this look familiar? No. Not now. Thank you. It's so weird running everything off that display capture. No, we're doing it now. I have time, actually. One cool cat. We'll do it now. So we don't need the overlays, I guess, right now. Okay, so here's what we're working on. By the way, check out all the paint files I have on here. Let's do a little bit of a GIMP tutorial. Okay, paint schemes. Let's see. Which one are we going to be working on? We're going to be working on, by the way, guys, see all these folders? They're just full of paint schemes that I've done. Tonight we're working on a late model. We have a good buddy by the name of Jeremy Root, and we will be working on his paint scheme tonight. We're going to try to make it, we're going to take a scheme that's already made up, and we're going to try to make it into one for him, because he'll be doing the exact same thing. Okay, here is the USAFirearms.com A51 Racing Team Cars Late Model Tour late model. Randy making the bank tonight. Well, I don't know if I'm making bank, but I definitely appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so, we'll do this, and then I'll show you how to do a basic scheme. I'll update this one, and then we'll do a basic scheme. So, as you can see here, this car here, you have to make custom nameplates right here. This is for Brian Zimmerman. We call him Zimmy. He's another A51 member, and also the owner of USAFirearms.com. Now, for each and every one of those nameplates you see, I do have to make a custom nameplates. That's under my racing logo. And right here you can see Dylan's. Let's see if I can pull it up over here. See, here's Dylan's right here. I have to make all those individually. Now, this is something that actually took me a very long time to do in GIMP. And so I'll show you, let me get that out of here. I'll show you guys how to do that tonight. Dylan's a great guy. He's fast. He had a little bit of a rough night last night. Here's Zimmy's right here. What we'll do is we'll open up one that I already made. Here's mine. That's my nameplate right there. And here's Aaron's. Aaron's is looking good. Let's pull up Dylan's. I think Dylan's looks the most clean. There's Chase's. If Chase is in here, there's your nameplate. Made a ton of these.
Got 3 separate meatball flags in there.
You see that? Oh, yeah, I had to do that. Where'd they go? Okay, so in Twitch, you have to have 3 different sizes of the emoticons. We will. Hold on. Where'd they go? Oh, there it is. Okay, boom. There we go. In Twitch, you have to have 3 different size emoticons for them to work properly. So that's what that is right now. Let's turn up a little bit of music too. It's a little quiet in my head, so we'll turn it up but have it a little bit lower. Okay, so we need to make, for Jeremy Root, we need to make sure we have a nameplate for him. Now in GIMP, you have to make a new file, you want to add the alpha channel to it. The alpha channel is that transparent stuff in the background that doesn't show up when you put it over top of something. So if you right click on the layer that you're working on here, by the way, I clicked new. Man, I forget. Some people have never opened this before. So we're making a new nameplate. I went into File on GIMP. I said New. And then I made it the default file size, which is 2048 by 2048. And usually that's big enough for what we need to do. And then you shrink it down, the image. And I'll show you how to do that too, to that. So we don't want this black background. We want an alpha channel background, a transparent background where anybody can just pick it up and use it, and they can put it on something and there won't be a black square there. It'll just be the image itself. So you click on the, oh man, let's move the chat. The chat's in the way.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. You may want to turn that overlay off.
And chat's gone. Or we can move it somewhere else. Let's see. Nah, it's fine right there actually. I can't have it there because of the... Okay. Okay, so if you see here on the right, and I got my mouse up here on purpose, You'll have to right click on that, and then you're going to want to select Add Alpha Channel. I've disappeared. Yes, no more chat over there. It's sad. It breaks my heart. Okay, so we've added an alpha channel to this, and the only thing you have to do to make this black screen go away, you just click on it with anything, any tool, and then you click delete. Boom. Alpha channel. You see how that's nice there? Boom. Alpha channel. Hot tip as well. To zoom in and out quickly, hit the plus to zoom in and the minus to zoom out while it's on your main screen. Because I have multiple screens. If you click out of it, it won't work.
I think you can also use Control and then scroll the mouse wheel to do that.
I'll test that, and Davis is correct. Ooh, that's actually kind of easier. I like that. There's another hot tip.
I'm spotting for you even in Gimp.
We've got Davis here. So Davis, if you see anything I'm doing wrong, maybe you can help me. Because remember, I learned this on my own about 4 months ago.
And I learned it on my own too. So that's one of the reasons I'm really intent on hanging around. I want to see how you do it and see what we can teach.
Maybe we can help with that. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, I'm assuming Jeremy. Hey, do you guys know if Jeremy's from the United States? I assume he is. I made one for Brad Ward once, and he was from Canada. I did it with the United States flag, and I had to completely redo it because he's Canadian. Just click the eyeballs. And... Alright. So Jeremy is from the United States. Okay, so let's see if you can see this. Here I have saved a United States flag right here, right? This flag is huge. It's going to be bigger than this image, I believe. Oh, maybe not. Okay. So this flag, what's the size of this flag?
480 by 250.
Did you guess that? Or did you see it?
I saw it. I saw it.
Okay. I was about to say, holy cow, that is amazing. So we don't need it to be that big, and if you make it that big and then try to resize it on the car, it's going to make it super pixelated. So you want to try to get it to as close as possible to the size you're going to be putting it on the car. So we're going to do that. Now we need to add a text box. You guys see how I did that, by the way? So if you ever need to put logos onto your cars, just go ahead and search it on the interwebs. You know what? Let's do that. Let's show them how to do that. Let's go to google.com. USA flag. Now here's what you need to do as well. I need to teach you this as well. The type of a pixel sommelier. That isn't spelled right at all.
Sommelier.
Okay. So if you need to find images to put on your car on Google, here's how you do it. Let's see if I have the race results here. Let's put that right there. Okay. So it's not just good enough to put USA flag, because it'll bring you one that has a bunch of gunk in the background. You're going to be looking specifically for a PNG file type, right? PNG will ensure that it has that background, so you don't have like a white or a black background around the flag. Pastor Cavassier. So as you can see,
SVG files are the same way. They also have an alpha channel, and they also work.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so if you click on this thing right here, you can merely just right-click on it and save the image, and then you can just save it under whatever folder you have. Now, I already have one, so I don't need to use that one again. I have one I really like right here. And so let's get back to that. Aaron says, Pastor Cravat. I remember that song. Holy cow. So let's go back over to that. Okay, so we have our flag here. Now we need some lettering. You just steal it. Yeah. Well, the American flag, I don't know. You can't copyright the American flag, can you? You can't say that's my property. I don't know. Now, on logos and stuff, is it 100% yes? Well, okay. That's what I've been doing. But think about it. That's how do you think these guys are getting these logos on these cars? You think they're asking permission? Nah.
Oh no, I've pulled corporate logos for all my cars.
Snyder says, have you tried multi-flagging? What do you mean by that, Snyder? See, this is something I could learn as well. So tell me what you mean there, Snyder, in the chat, and I'm going to keep on going. So now, we're going to put the lettering on here. First, his name. Now, right now I have the Blade Runner font up here. Check this out. This is crazy. So this is what I use for the skirts on the car. And this one's really crazy because if you do like a control, like a Shift R, it'll do like different logos and stuff. So it's only capitalized, but we're not using that font. Anywho, so if you want to change your font, oh yeah, I gotta remember, these guys are new. So let's completely do this from scratch once again. Okay, so to put lettering on here, let's get out of there. Let's just delete that. Okay, so if you want to add lettering to what you're doing, over here on the tools area, this is your tools over here on the left if you see, there's an A1. That's going to be your lettering. That's not short for A51, by the way. Go ahead and click that. Okay. On the left there, there'll be all the fonts. I'm saying okay a lot, by the way. There are all the fonts that you will need. Okay. And the name font for the banners, you have to make them pretty simple, especially when you make them that small, because if you use some sort of fancy font, they get all pixelated and stuff. But there's ways to make them cool, even small, and I'm about to show you how to do that. So I believe I just did Arial, bold, italicized. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now, when you have the lettering selected... Oh, Snyder, yeah, if you want to do multiple flags, we could totally do that. Yeah, I could show you how to do that, Snyder. That would be no problem. So when you have your text tool selected, you need to make a box somewhere. Now, your text will only fit inside of that box. If you make the text too big, like let me show you here. Whoops. If you make the text too big for that box, it's not going to stay in there. You're going to have a bad time. Now watch, we'll make it like a 200 and something. You see that? The text doesn't even show up because it's too big. So let's make it about a... Okay, that's a little better. I like that. Alright, let's go with... let's do about 52. Let's see if that does. Whoops, not J52. So you need to click inside the box once you have your box selected. And I'm going to do Jeremy. Man, that looks pixelated. Let's see if we can make that bigger at all. Well, we'll be able to fix that here in a second. Okay, so another hot tip that you can do, if you just don't care about the box size, you can actually double-click the corners here, and it will auto-size that box to your text. Even if you change the size of the text, it'll change the size of the box as well. And I think actually I like that size right there. J52 rival faction. Yes. But because I'm going to be growing this text a little bit, I'm going to make the box still a little bit bigger. Now, I have my text, and I want to move it. What do? Okay, so going back up in our tools here, we're back up here in these tools. You see this tool here with the... Man, I wish there was... Can I zoom in on this at all? Let's see if I can zoom in. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit here. I'm not seeing it. Dang. Okay, we'll do it in a little bit. Up here in the tools, there's going to be like a 4-way arrow that's up there. That is going to be your moving tool. It's what you use to move your tools around, or your pictures and whatever you're doing around. So you select your mover tool, and you make sure that the layer you're wanting to move is highlighted. You click on it, and you move on it wherever you want it, just like that. Okay? Now, for those who are making paint schemes, this one is super important as well, because oftentimes you got to be able to rotate those schemes. And if you try to judge it by hand, it's not going to work. So here's the easy way to rotate lettering and logos. Go ahead and click the layer tab there up at the top. You see that? Click layer. I got to get rid of that tip jar too. Go ahead and click layer up there at the top. Oh, thank you there, Mark. Go ahead and click the top there and layer. Click the layer tab, and if you go to transform is the one where you move it around or you flip it. There's a bunch of tools in transform to help you rotate it. Like, check it out. So if you click rotate 90 degrees, it's going to rotate that logo perfectly in the direction that you want it to go. It's going to be perfect. So when you're doing logos on a car, it's important that you rotate it that way, and there are other ways to make sure you do it right, but this is the easiest way. So that when you put it on the car, it's not leaning one way or the other. It's perfectly straight going that way. So you can see here we rotated Jeremy's thing. Now let's put it back. Now, another hot tip. This is, anyone who uses computers know this. To completely undo something you just did, just hit Control and Z, and it goes back. I always hate mirroring. Yes. And so there you go. So there's a hot tip for those of you who will be making some schemes on, you know, moving around the logos and stuff. Layer, transform, rotate. Now, if you have like an intense logo that has a bunch of pictures and stuff on it, you'll have to go layer, transform, and then flip vertically. And as you can see, it flips it both ways, because if you some logos require that, like a picture will require that, so it's same on both sides. You can't do that with lettering because it'll make it backwards. So when you need to flip lettering onto the other side to the other side of the car, just rotate it 180 degrees. Controls LTR. Oh really? Oh really, Aaron? LT. I don't see squat, Aaron. Okay? I don't appreciate your attitude. Okay, so now we have Jeremy here. Now it looks pretty boring right now, just like that. And I wanna actually make it a little bit more bold if we can. So I'm gonna highlight it again. Let's see if I can bolden that a little more. Nope, it's already bolden. Now I think the lettering is a little too close together. So on your tools here, on your word tools, you have your font, you've got your font size, and then you have a spacing right here. See how it says 0.0 here on the right? That's going to give you different spacing between the letters. You can actually make them closer together too, but because we're going to do something cool with his name, we need to space it out a little bit. There we go. Maybe not that much, maybe about 2. Because we want to be able to see the details when we're done with this thing. Okay. Let's move this back now. By the way, this is why it took so long for me to do all these schemes. Layer, transform, rotate. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Hey, Danny boy. Okay, so now we want to, I want to add some spunk to this. Oh, one more thing I need to tell you as well. Over on the right here, you have your layers. The highest layer is going to be on top. So if I take the flag and I move it above my text box there, the flag is going to be above the lettering. But if I take it and I drag it back down below the lettering is going to be on top of that layer. So I'm going back to select my lettering. Now there's a much more advanced way to do this, and it looks a little bit better if you do it the advanced way. But for the sake of today, we are going to do it the easier way. There is a magic tool here. It's called the fuzzy select tool, and if you click on something of the same color, it will select all of that color. So I selected the fuzzy select tool here, which, by the way, if you're more advanced, I don't recommend doing this, but for beginners it'll work just fine. So you click on the J there, and you'll notice on the right side here it has the J selected. What's going on here? Let's try that again. Okay, so you select that. And if you hold shift, you can select multiple objects. So I got the J, now I have the E, now I have the R, now I have the E again, now I have the M, and I have the Y. And you can see they're highlighted by looking over here. Davis, do you know how I get that fuzzy line to come back? Dang it, Aaron. I think Aaron probably screwed me up. There it is. It's Control T. Thank you for that, Aaron. Okay. So we're going to put a bigger white lettering behind this. Okay? So we're going to make a separate layer, and we're going to duplicate this layer and make it bigger. So I'm going to click on that text box again. I'm going to right click on it, and if I want to make the exact same layer, you right click on it and you hit duplicate layer. So now we have 2 of the same layer. Watch, I'll show you. There's actually 2 now. We just duplicated them by clicking duplicate. And then you can get Control Z to have it go back. Now we want this white layer in the background. So we click on the lower text box, or the lower layer, so that it is not on top. So we're going to go over to our tools again. We're going to click select and grow. So if you ever have lettering and you want to add on to it and you want to make it bigger, or you want to do like multicolored letters, this is how you do it. So you have Jeremy selected, you hit grow. Let's grow it by 3 pixels and hit OK. So, one more time, I selected the layer I wanted to. I highlighted it all with the fuzzy tool by hitting shift and click. And then I hit select and grow. And that's how I did. Now you'll see that fuzzy line there. That fuzzy line is bigger than the actual lettering. Now I want that to be white. I want that to be filled in with white. So I hit edit, and I can hit fill selection outline, and then I can hit a specific color, or I can just hit fill with the foreground color, and there we go. Now Jeremy has a really cool name. But we're not done there. We need to put another layer of black behind that. Now, remember what I told you about Francis? We were going to host you there a second. How'd you do, buddy? And so, we're going to make a third layer. And now remember what I told you about, depending on where your layer is, it's going to show up on top or on bottom of the other layers. So if I move this layer up above the first layer, now you're only going to see that white layer. We don't want that. So we want to make sure that background layer is behind the lettering that we want. Excellent. Okay, so we have that. Now this is just making lettering. When I do cars, we'll do a whole thing. So I want to make a third layer. So what am I going to do, guys? Who can tell me? Gosh, I feel like I'm teaching Jim right now. You click on the letter again that you want to duplicate. You want to click the background layer because you want to grow that one, not the first layer, because it's not going to match up perfectly. So you right click on it again, you hit duplicate layer, and you make sure that layer is the bottom of the 3 as well. Now check this out. Now that I did that, remember, see, I've made another layer that's exactly the same just by duplicating that, okay? So we're going to Control Z to put that back. We're going to make sure the biggest black layer is on the bottom to make sure that we have the correct way to go. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So we're going to select it again. We're going to hit grow. We're going to grow this one. We don't want it quite as thick as what we just did. We just want the outline to be black again. So we're going to grow it by 2 pixels that time. Okay? So now as you can see, I'll zoom in here. You can see the fuzzy edge now is a little bit higher. Okay, so now we're going to fill this in. Yes, bet select all. I love that. We're going to go to edit. And as you can see, I already have black as my background color. Okay? Your 2 colors right here, the one in front is your foreground color, the one in the back is background color. You can change that simply by clicking on it. That will change your colors. So I already have white and black as my template colors right now. Edit, fill with background color, and look at that. You know what? I think I might want to make it a little bit bigger actually. But as you can see, I added a third layer there. But let's make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to Control Z to do rid of that. Control Z again to redo the grow. So we went back to our original size there. Alright, so let's select, let's grow it again. Let's do it by 3 again. Let's do that. Ooh, this is going to look good, boys. Select, edit, fill with background color. Look at that. There we go. We have a really cool looking Jeremy. Look at that. Now, I didn't explain this earlier, but the reason why we had this italicized is because the natural italicized they have on this is perfect for putting it on a car. For some reason on Gimp, when you put lettering on a car, it has a natural tendency to lean it the opposite way. So when you italicize it, it looks right. And we're going to do it with the flag here too to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have all 3 layers here for Jeremy's first name, right? And as you can see, remember, if I put this bottom layer on top, not going to work. It's not going to work. So we got to make sure the right layers are correctly on top of one another. Otherwise, it's not going to be correct. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I have these 3 layers done, and I want them to be permanently fixed together now, okay? So I'm going to click on this top layer, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to click Merge down here. Now what that did was, that merged those 2 layers together. So now, look, see, as you can see, it did those 2 layers. They're now permanently fixed together. Okay? And now I'm going to do all 3 layers again. I'm going to do the same thing, merge down again. Now, all these layers here, see that? They're together. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Francis. All these layers are permanently fixed together now, and we can actually save that if we want to, and we might actually. Okay. Now we're going to move on to some new lettering. If you use the fuzzy select tool, remember the fuzzy select tool is that magic wand up here in the top left. You have to unselect that, and the way you do that is you go over to the tabs here at the top, select none, and as you can see, it took away that fuzzy line that shows what we're selecting. Bob Ross, thank you. Okay, so we made the original font at 52. We're going to do it again. So I need to make some more lettering. We're going to go back to our lettering tool, and we're going to make the box the size we want it here. And it's okay if it overlaps with the Y a little bit, because root is not as long as Jeremy, and it's not going to overlap with that Y. So we're going to make it the size we want it to. We're going to make it the size we want, and we need it to be black, so we're going to click on color and make it black. And if you remember, we had a 52 size font for Jeremy, so we might make it a little bit bigger for the last name. We might do 60 because the last name is what you want to highlight. So we're going to do that, and we're going to type root. Matter of fact, we're going to make that much bigger. So I'm going to select it all, and we're going to make it root. I like it. Okay. And I made the box bigger because if I go over it on anything, it's not going to show up. And we're going to be adding those background layers, so if I don't make that box big enough, it's not going to show up. All right. And you know what? This could be bigger still. We are going to make it bigger. Let's make it bigger.
And Randy, you can always expand a layer size. Believing if you go into the layer menu, there's an option to expand it to fill the whole frame.
Yep.
So I'll do that, and then once I'm done working on the layer, then I'll hit layer and crop it back to the con.
Yep. So yes, David's talking about something a little bit more advanced there, but he's correct. You can actually have it automatically fill to the box you have, and sometimes that's easier. But I'm actually eyeballing it by the lettering here. But Davis is correct. You can click layer, and you can have it fill to that box there, which is really nice. Okay. So getting back into this here. So we got root about where I want it to be. It still needs to be a little bit bigger. We want the last name to be a little bit bigger. And let's make it 80. Ooh, I like that right there. We're gonna make a happy little root. Okay, so we have that now. And we need, okay, so now we have our lettering. We're going to duplicate that layer, remember, because we're going to do 3 layers of colors. So we need to duplicate this layer again. So we're going to click on the layer that we want, the root layer. You think I should caps the surname? We can. Well, I will in the future, Snyder, but on the other schemes, I did not do that, so we'll just leave it like this. But I think you're actually right there. Root. So I'm going to right-click on it. I'm going to duplicate that layer once again. And if you just joined us, duplicating that layer merely makes a copy of that layer you just did. So right-click, duplicate. And Control-Z will undo what you just did. Okay, so we need to highlight the lower of the 2 layers. So the bigger layer is on the bottom. So on the right here, I'm selecting the lower layer of the 2 to make sure it is on the bottom. I'm selecting my fuzzy tool again. I'm clicking it. And then I'm holding shift to make sure it selects multiple things. See, if you just hit, click on it, and then click on something else, it's only going to highlight what you clicked. So, you click, hold shift, click, 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 and you can highlight multiple things. Oh, yes, caps would help too there, Snare. You are absolutely right. Root. So, remember, we have it down in the lower layer. We have it selected now. We're going to go to the top here. We're going to hit select. We're going to hit grow. And we're going to grow it by 3 pixels because that's what we did before. And as you can see now, it made that fuzzy select bigger by a significant amount there. Okay. We're going to go over to the edit. And we're going to fill with the white color because I already have that white color on my palette over here. If you need to change your palette, just go over there and click that, and then you can make it any color you want. You can even enter in a color code, which is nice. Okay, so there's that. Now, remember what I said about the layers? If I put that white layer now on top of that other layer, doesn't work. We got to make sure it's underneath that one. Now we need to add one more layer to make that look correct, because we need another black layer. So we're going to do duplicate layer once again. We're going to select the root layer we just made. Excuse me. Duplicate. And we're going to select that bottom layer because we want this on the bottom of the 3 layers. We need it to be the bottom because if it's on top, it's going to cover them all up. Now we're going to go over select, grow, and we're going to go 3 again. And we're going to edit, fill that with the black color there. Oh, that is pretty. I like that. Look at that, boys. What do you think? Will that work? I like it. Okay. Now remember, I cannot stress the layer selection enough. Like, it has to be correct. If you put this above this, it's going to look silly, and you're going to wonder what you did. So make sure it's in correct order. Now, we're going to merge all 3 of these together. If I need to move them, we can do that. So I'm going to right-click the top layer, click merge down. There's a faster way to do this, but we're just doing this for this one. I'm going to click the layer again, merge down. Now all 3 of these can be moved. See that? Very nice. Very nice. I like that a lot. Davis, I spelled that correctly, right? Let me go back to the Discord to see. If I did all that and spelled it wrong, I'll be so mad.
I'm not sure.
Let me see here. I'm checking the... Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah. Jeremy's a fast...
call.
Yeah, Jeremy's a fast guy. Okay, so we got that. Now, let's click on this flag because we need to fix this flag. This flag... Remember how I told you on the cars it needs to be slanting a little bit, otherwise it's going to look like it's leaning backwards? Well, it's true for the flag as well. We need to make that flag slant a little bit to the right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to click our slant tool here. Or it's called the shear tool, I'm sorry. And it's in the middle here. It's beneath those calipers there, which is the measure tool. It's called the shear tool. I'm going to click that. Make sure our United States flag... Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. My wife's calling me. One moment.
I'm gonna get some more apricots.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we have it selected here. We have that. Oh, and see how it still has the fuzzy select there? We need to get rid of that. So we hit select, none. Okay, so we have our flag layer selected. We're going to hit the shear tool. Now check this out. We have it selected, and we're going to slant it to the right there. We're going to try to make it the same as the lettering there. There we go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I like that. Now we're not done just yet because we don't want this whole big old thing just for that small lettering there. We need Gimp to cut this thing down to that. Now, here's a hot tip. The layer tab up here only controls the layer you have selected. Okay? To the left of that, you have the image tab. That controls the entire picture. When you're working on the cars in Gimp, you never want to touch that image because it's going to cut that size down when you need it to be 2048 by 2048. So when you're working on cars, never use the image tab. But for this case, we do. So we need this to cut down to that. We're going to go image, crop to content. And now what that did was it cut down the entire image down to only the things that are inside that image there. Okay? So there we go. We now have Jeremy's nameplate, which is really cool, and we'll send that to him, and I'm sure he'll be very happy about that. All right, there we go.
Good work.
And Davis, do you have anything you want to add to that? What could I have done better, Davis, on that? I'm probably doing it some weird backwoods way.
I mean, there are a couple quicker ways to do the text, but honestly, using the merge tool and duplicating it, I usually just make a new layer and keep the selection the same from before. Like, go ahead and select the layer and then make a new layer, grow the selection instead of duplicating it. But that works just fine
Ah,
too.
that's a good point too. Yes, you could just create a new layer. I didn't even think about that, Davis. That's genius.
Yep. So I'll select the text, then I'll hit create new layer, and then I'll grow the selection, and then fill with whatever color I.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we need to have Davis do the advanced, as Aaron says, the quantum Gimp. Okay, so now we need to save this. So this is extremely important. If you want this to show up as a transparent file, you absolutely have to save it as a certain file type. Okay, so if you save it as a JPEG, it's going to show up with a black or white background, depending on what you open it in. So, whoops. Okay, so I hit File. Let me pull this back up here too. File, Export as, and I want it going into my Paint and my Racing Logos folder. And I will save this as Jeremy. Whoops. Why isn't this doing? Come on. Jeremy root nameplate. Okay. Now at the end of it, it wants to save it as a JPEG. We don't want that. Do you remember what I told you when you're looking up a file on Google? It must be PNG format in order for that to work. So, Jeremy root nameplate.png. So it's period, no spaces, PNG. This will make it to where it'll have the transparent background. So whatever opens it realizes, oh, this is a transparent file. I need to get rid of that gamma selection, or the alpha selection, or whatever they call it. What do you call that anyways?
The alpha layer, the transparency?
Yes, there we go, the alpha layer. It knows to get rid of it. So there we go, we hit export, and you guys won't need to mess with anything on that. Maybe sometimes to tweak something you will, but for the sake of this, you don't need to. Okay, so now we have Jeremy Root's nameplate. And let's see, do I have... I'll need to open up iRacing here. We'll test the late model at USA. Oh, how convenient. We'll do that. Okay, so we can close this out now. I don't need to, you know, we'll save that too. If you save it as an XCF, that's to where you can still open up the file and work on it. So
and if you're working on this in Photoshop, XCF is the GIMP equivalent of the PSD Photoshop.
Yep. So yeah, if you open up a PSD in GIMP, it'll automatically convert it over to the file format needed. Okay, so now, how do we go about getting these on the car? So this is going to be a little bit more advanced, and one day I'll show you a complete thing from scratch, but now let's put this on this car, and I'll show you why it's so important to have stuff in the layer selection and things like that. Okay, so now we got a test session going here for iRacing. Let's move this over here so we can look at the car. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let's now move this over to my other screen. Okay. Okay, so we have a paint file here, and the question is, how can we look at this on iRacing without ever actually, you know, putting it on trading paint? So here's how you do that. Man, we got Inception going on here. So you need to open up iRacing, and you need to run a test lap here. So let me open this up and put that over there. Okay, let's do this. Alright, so we need to run about a lap here so we can get a good view. Now this is late model in the USA. I should be really fast here, right?
Home track.
Now I have it on the other screen, so I'm like looking to the right while doing this. This is the official. Oh gosh, it's been so long since I ran here. The official racetrack of. Okay, that'll work. Okay. Okay, so you want to pause the. You want to pause it somewhere where you can get a really good view of the car. I usually like to do it in the corners, because you can get a highlight on the car from the lights in the infield. So I'll do it there, and let's get a different view on it. Actually, you know what, that works. Now, if you need to change how you're looking at the car while in iRacing, just hit Control and F12. And there's a lot of hotkeys. We're not going to talk about that tonight. For the sake of tonight, we'll just use these arrows. And you can use different things to look at that. Oh, this is my old scheme. This is my scheme that I'm running right now that I need to update. Okay, so we see that there. Now let's head back on over to Gimp. Let's do that. Let's go hide that. Go back on over to Gimp. Okay. Now we're back in Gimp, and we want this car to show up in iRacing, right? So we're going to go to File, Export As. Now, within your Documents folder, your Documents folder, iRacing put its own folder with your documents, such as Save Setups and Paint Schemes. And this is what Trading Paints accesses. It goes into here, and before the race, it puts the paint files into the paint folder in iRacing. So it's going to be Documents, and then you need to find iRacing, which is right here for me, and then choose Paint, right? Okay, so this is iRacing's. And then up here they have the late model one. Now there's only one thing in here for me, but if you have multiple cars, let's say you're doing it off a replay or something, you'll have to find your car. So there's my car. I am going to export this car over top of that car. And so now the file that's in there has been replaced by the file in Gimp. And now, so let's go back over to iRacing now. I've put my paint file into the paint folder. Oh boy, this is... There we go. Let's do the boom, back over to here. Okay, we're back in iRacing. Now, when I hit Control R to reload the paint scheme, we now have the Brian Zimmerman scheme that I'm looking at. This is how you can check the details on the car as you're painting it. Super important, because sometimes in Gimp it's going to look great. You're like, wow, that's awesome. And you load it up on iRacing and half the logo is cut off by the wheel well or the window net. So it's very important that you do this when painting a scheme. Okay, so I think we got a pretty good view on this car here. And okay, let's go back on over to Gimp. So we need to... Man, I'm changing cams a lot. Let's get back on over to Gimp. Now, we're changing this Brian Zimmerman scheme. We're making it Jeremy Root. And we did make it for him. Now, as you can see here, I have a ton of layers, okay? It's important that if you want a layer to show up, you have it on top of the previous layer. Now, for the sake of these name tags here, there's nothing else really around it except the paint scheme itself. So it just has to be above this paintable area here. Alright, so as you can see here, I have the nameplates loaded in, and they're underneath Brian Zimmerman name tags, right? So we might just get rid of them. We're gonna delete those layers. I'm doing it the slow way here. Okay, right click, delete layer, and get rid of that other one as well. Delete layer. Now you might be wondering, how in the world do you know where the stuff goes on the car? So iRacing included a couple things to help you see what the car looks like. And it's right underneath here where it says turn off before exiting TGA. And you have a few things that you can see here. If you click the eyeball here on the left, you can see that layer. So as you can see here, it says number block locations here. If you click that to see it, iRacing is going to show you how much space that number is going to take up. So you can see here, that's the number spot. So we're going to turn that off. We might need that actually. We'll leave that up. And this is wire here. This is the wire frame of the car in the race. So now that we have that up, we have a kind of a view of what the car looks like. So we see here, we've got to get that nameplate in between the number here and the end of the car right here. we can't go to the white. We have to go to this wireframe because this is where it cuts off. If you go beneath this wireframe here, it's going to cut it off. So we got to make sure it's right in here. Also, you need to make sure you turn those off when you export this card, because those boxes and that wireframe will show up on your paint scheme. And I've seen guys race with those wireframes, and it's just ridiculous.
No.
It's crazy. Okay, so we did make our Jeremy Root name tag, so we're going to go into our Racing Logos folder. And there it is, looking good, looking good. Whoops, I don't know why I did that. We're going to drag that into the paint. Oh, hold on. We're going to make sure we have a new layer selected here, and I have the layer where I wanted it to. Root. Okay, so I'm creating a new layer, and I'm putting it where I want it. Remember how I told you about layer selection is important? We're going to put it right there in the middle of all the decals, so all the decals are around the same spot. And you can make a new folder and everything, but we'll do that in another video. So for the sake of this, we're just doing this. So I have a new layer ready to go, and I'm putting root on top of that. There it is. Now, you see what happened here? Because in the layers, Jeremy Root is below the number block, it's not showing up because it's below that. Now, if I drug that up above it, it would show up, but for the sake of this, we don't need to show up because we need it to be in there anyways. Okay, so now we need to downsize this. You can do that by selecting the layer, make sure you're on the right layer, and selecting the size tool here. There's a scale tool. You click that, and then once again you click on that, the layer you're working on. Now, this is extremely important. When you're resizing images in Gimp, you need to do it as few times as possible, because every time you resize that layer, it's got to add or remove pixels, and it'll make it look super pixelated if you do it a ton. And every now and again, you'll see people that make custom paint schemes. As a matter of fact, Davis, I said that today in the race. I said that guy's paint scheme is hideous. That's because he resized his image so many times, it looked super pixelated. Okay. So let's resize this thing. Let's try to get it one time and one time only. I think about right there should do. So I resize it and I hit enter. Now let's move that up right there. I think actually that should do it. Let's see right there. Okay. Let's see how that looks.
I've got a pro tip for you, Randy.
Do it.
So, if you put the nameplate or whatever the image is in the exact spot you know you're going to want, then when you go and do the resize tool, hold down Shift and Control, and it will keep the nameplate centered right there, and it'll just resize it around that one point.
Oh, I see.
So you'll be able to tell, oh, that's too big, oh, that's too small, in just one resizing.
Like that? I see what you're saying. Okay, so we need to move it again. I see what you're saying there. Okay, so if you hit Control, guys, and you do that, you can see if it's going to fit there. One resizing. The least amount of resizes possible, the best. Right there is perfect. The old kerchief had it right again.
Holding down Shift keeps the aspect ratio, and then holding down Control resizes it right on that point that you...
All right. You guys hanging with me? Did you get that? Go ahead and show me some bangs in the chat if you're still with me. So, we have that resized now. And remember, it's underneath the wire layer and that number block layer. We have that number block layer there, so we can see exactly where we need to put it. And Davis is with us. Okay, so I want to see now if that shows up right on the car. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to export again. Or, pro tip, you can just hit Control-E again, and it'll just export to the same exact spot it was before. Alright. So let's check it here. We're going to hit Control-E on the car and see if that showed up. Now, as you can see here, guys... Oh, no you can't because I haven't put it up on the screen yet. Okay. As you can see here, because I left the number block and the wire showing, it showed up on the car. So before you finish your car, you make sure you turn those off. So we're going to zoom in here. We're going to see if Jeremy Root showed up okay on the car. And you know what, folks? That's about as perfect as it gets. Check it out. So I'm going to re-export it again turning the wire and the number blocks off. Let me show you how to do that once more. Okay, here's the wire. I'm going to make that invisible. Here's the number block location. I'm going to make that invisible. Okay. We're going to go to the car here, and we're going to hit... Oh, sorry. We're going to hit Control-E inside the paint to re-export it. I'm going to go back over to the car here. And once it's done exporting, sometimes you go too fast and the file doesn't export in time. Just hit Control-R again once you're back in the thing. So we're hit Control-R again. And look at that. That is one fine little nameplate there for Mr. Jeremy Root. Now we need to do the other one. Up Crispy. I don't know what you mean by that, Aaron. Up Crispy. Oh, Rice Crispy. I'm sorry. Hey, Rice Crispy. I'm sorry, Rice. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the stream. Normally do racing, but we're doing a Gimp tutorial right now. I've been promising to do it, so we're doing a little bit of a Gimp tutorial here. So we're showing how to add logos to a car, and I'll show how to do like custom designs and stuff like that too, but for now we're just showing how to add logos. So we have the right side Jeremy Root on there. We need to add another one. You might be thinking, why don't you just duplicate the layer and flip it? The reason why you don't want to do that is because the more you move these things, the more you resize them, the more it adds or remove pixels, the blurrier it looks. You want to take it, you want to resize it in one shot, you want to put it where it is, and you want to keep it there. Okay, so we got that. We're going to put the number block back where it is. Remember that? We selected number block. We hit this visibility. We're going to hit the wire. We're going to hit the visibility so we can see exactly where to put it. And remember, on this line right here is right about where it was. See this line right here? I'm going to memorize that. This is the line where it is, right here. Okay, so we're going to go back to our racing logos. I'm going to get Jeremy again. I'm going to make a new layer and put it where I want it. Root nameplate number 2. Okay, and I don't want it all the way up. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I'll put my thing down. Okay. So we're going to put that right by the other Jeremy Root nameplate. Remember, layer selection is important. Very important. That's right, Rice Crispy. We got some Missy Elliott going in here. So we're going to put that right back there. And as you can see, it's way too big. So we want it right about there. Okay? All right. I never did understand what she was saying there. So we're going to get our scale tool there, which is right here. This is how you resize images. Now remember, we want to rescale it one time. The more we rescale this thing, the more pixelated it's going to work. So we're going to click on it. We're going to hit Control to keep it centered. And we're going to have it come down. And it looks like right about there is going to do it. Boom. Oh! Let's try that again. Hitting Control will keep it centered. Boom, that looks good. Okay, so we're going to take that layer now, and we're going to transform it 180 degrees. Remember, you can flip stuff very easily just by hitting Layer, and then Transform, and I just rotated it 180 degrees, a complete flip. Is there a lot of demonic messages in that, Aaron? Remember when you play the records backwards? Oh, that's funny. Okay, so now we have that on there. Let's go ahead and Control E with all the stuff on there so we can see if it works on the car. Okay, so now we need to get over to the other side of this car. Let me pull this up on here. So we just hit Control E to export it once again. Paintception going on here. I'm going to go to the other side of the car. We Control-D'd while in Gimp, so it would upload it again, and we're going to hit Control-R. And look at that. Once again, we have a perfect nameplate on the car. Now, do you see, guys, how on that car it looks straight? Oh, is that true, Aaron? Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense that it doesn't make sense, but if you play it backwards, she'd actually be saying something. Now, do you see it? Yeah, it makes sense that it makes sense. That's exactly what I just said. That makes a lot of sense. So as you can see here, remember how I told you to italicize the lettering and to italicize the flag a little bit? Now on this car, it looks a lot more straight than had you not. It would look like it was leaning a lot backwards had you not done that. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the Gimp and we're going to take off the wire and the number block because we don't need those anymore. And we're going to hit Control E again so it re-uploads the file back into the iRacing paint schemes. Now we're going to go back into iRacing. We're going to hit Control R again to see what we have there. Booyah! And we have a very good looking couple of nameplates there for Mr. Root himself. Now, as you can see at the bottom here, we have Brian Zimmerman's name on the skirts there, right? We need to take care of that. So, we're going to go back into Gimp. Man, I keep switching screens on this thing. We're going to go back into Gimp, and we're going to find the layer that has Zimmerman's name on it. Okay, see right here? I'm selecting the layer that had Zimmerman's name. We're going to zoom into it by hitting plus, or, what was it? It was Control and the mouse wheel, right? Yeah, there we go. Control and the mouse wheel will do it as well. We have that selected, and the only thing we should need to do is change the lettering, because we did the format and we did the color earlier. So we're going to select our text tool, which is in the top left right there. We're going to highlight the name, and we're simply going to replace it with root, and if everything works correctly, it should work. So root. Whoops. I got to do it in lowercase because I forgot I have that special font here. R-O-O-T. Nope, it didn't keep the size for us. What was the size on that? 37. Okay. So we need size 37, 21 letter spacing. So remember how I told you there's letter spacing right here in this little box right here? Let me zoom into that. Oops. No, zoom in, you goose. There we go. Okay. So remember how I told you in this right here, you can actually select how far apart the letters are? I need to remember that I did a 37 size font and I had 21 spacing in between the letters because for some reason it doesn't automatically do it. I'm not sure why, but we'll fix it, no problem. Root. And we're going to make that 37 and 21 spacing.
To help me remember the font details, I like to type it into the layer title over there on the layers panel.
Oh, that's a pro tip right there.
Because sometimes there are some transformations you can make to text layers that will convert it from a text layer to just a normal layer. And if you try and go back and edit it with the text tool, you won't be able to do it, or it'll undo all the other edits you've made.
Exactly.
So, putting all that information in the layer title, like font size or spacing, if you've edited anything else, helps out a lot.
Let me show them how to do that right now. So here's what Davis is talking about. We're going to right-click on that layer we just did, and we're going to go to, you put it in the name, right?
Yeah, the name of the layer.
Okay. So we're going to go to, there should be, where's the rename layer? Edit layer attributes. Okay, so if you right-click on the layer, hit layer attributes, root, and remember we had 37 font and 21 spacing. This is very important for example, like this paint scheme right here. This is the fourth one of this paint scheme I've done. So it's very important that you get every little detail the same. Otherwise, the cars aren't going to match on the track and it's going to look like junk. Okay, so we have that one. Let's go over to the other one now. Select the other Zimmerman, which we will replace with root. Get our select tool, or excuse me, our font tool. I think that's what's called, right? Our lettering tool. We're going to highlight it. Now here's the weird thing, guys, about the lettering tool, which I think Gimp needs to fix. If you have moved a layer at all, or if you've like rotated it, when you select it with the lettering tool, it'll flip it back right side up, which is kind of a pain. But hey, what are you going to do? Okay, so we're going to type root in here. We're going to highlight it again. 37 size font. 21 spacing. Okay, we're going to put it back where it is. Now, we need to flip it once again So we're going to make sure we have that layer selected. We're going to go over to Layers, Transform, once again, Rotate 180 degrees. And actually, that looks a little high for me. Where should that be? No, that's correct. No, let's move it up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Now, let's make sure this looks good on the cart. And guess what? We're done making the Jeremy Root paint scheme if this is correct. So we're going to hit Control-E to export it once again. We're going to go back over to the car. And we're going to hit Control-R. There we go. Oh, you guys can't see that yet, though. Okay. There you go. You see that? Root is looking good. Let's get down to the bottom here. See that? Perfect. It's perfect on that side. Let's go over to the other side. Excellent. Jeremy now has his very own USA Firearms A51 late model scheme for the car series. Excellent. All right, guys. So there that is. Let's check it out on the track a little bit here. Oh man, Barkley's going crazy over there. Here we go. And we bounce it off the wall right after turn 1, which is funny. There it is. So we'll do a car from scratch here, and I'll promote it and everything. I'll make sure everyone knows that I'm doing a GIMP tutorial from scratch, how to make designs and everything, and how to know where it shows up on the car. And there you go. Boom, right in the wall. Hopefully Jeremy doesn't do that in the Cars series. Rice, I actually just did a car at Rockingham. It was pretty fun, actually. We actually did pretty well, thanks to our crew chief and another guy in the chat, Nathan Jurgensen. Very cool. So there it is. All right, guys. Now, when you're done with your scheme, very important, you need to save it. Okay? So you need to save the XCF or the PSD for Photoshop. All right, Barkley, chill out. I'll be out soon. And then you need to export it. Okay? So first we save it to make sure we keep our progress. No, I just saved over Zimmies. Bummer. Save as jeremyroot.xcf. And we're going to make sure we put it in the right folder. So it's under Paint, Late Model. Save it like that. So now we have this saved so we can come back and edit this at any time we want. Now we need to export it, as I believe the file type on that is TGA. TGA is the file format that Trading Paints accepts. So we need to make sure everything looks good to me. Now here's what you need to do as well. If you leave all these layers on here like this separated, it actually takes up a little bit more space. And have you ever seen that paint scheme on the racetrack and it stays white for like a whole minute and takes forever to load? Well, that's because they didn't flatten the image before they exported it. So the only thing you need to do to make this one image and flatten them all out together, you just need to right click on it and flatten image. Boom. Now it's just one layer, and it's going to be a lot easier for Trading Paints to load and upload and do all those things. Warning, do not save the file after you flatten it. You want to save the XCF to where you can edit each layer. Do not save it after you flatten the image. You do want to export it after you save the image. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Export As. You do not want to export it back into that iRacing folder because it will be deleted the second you start a new race. So Export, Paint, I want it going into my late models, and I'm going to call it the Jeremy Root USA Firearms late model. Okay, there's that. And we're going to hit Export. Now remember, TGA. If you're going to put it on Trading Paints, it has to be TGA file format, and you must type that in if it's not in there. And we're going to hit Export. And guess what, folks? Boom! Jeremy Root's folder is done. There we go. And finally, I'll show you how to put it up on trading paints for those of you who have never done that before as well. So we can go ahead and we can get out of there. Let's go to tradingpaints.com. Alright, man, this scheme has been on the front for forever. That Jeff Gordon cannon, but it looks good. Have you seen that one, Davis?
Ooh, no, I hadn't.
Yeah, check it out. It's really cool. I mean, he nailed it. I think it's one of the best games I've seen in here. Okay, so if you have a pro account, you can upload it for other people to use. I believe if you don't have a pro account, you can still upload it to your own thing. So you can run your own scheme, but you cannot upload for other people to use. So I need to sign in. Let's see. Now, let's see. Hopefully it won't show my password here.
Da, da, da.
Did Lose Pink Ferrari make the front page? You're kidding. Did Lose Pink Ferrari make the front page? Aw, I thought it did. Yeah. Oh, there it is! Look at that. Okay, so let's go favorite this. By the way, Lou Oleski, those of you from Podium Esports, we're definitely favoring that. Is trending on the front page of Trading Paints. Let's make sure we follow him too.
Pink. Oh, man.
How cool. You can check out all of his paint schemes here. He's got some cool ones.
Oh yeah, he's good at painting.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Okay, so there's that. Okay, we're gonna go back showroom, submit a paint. Now I'm uploading this for a friend, so I will be uploading it publicly. But if you need to do one for yourself, here's how you would do it. You go to My Paints, and we just did the Chevy late model. So that's the Chevy Monte Carlo SS. And what you would do is you would click. Yes, you would right click here, choose paint. No, that's not correct. Oh man, where is it here?
Sorry, bud, what are you looking for?
Okay, there we go. Yes, you would right click on that and then you'd hit choose new paint. Now if you have if you don't have a pro account, you can't make one to put in the showroom. But I do have a pro account and we're trying to make this for somebody else, so we're going to submit a paint and put it in the showroom. And I'm going to choose a paint file to share. It's underneath my late model, and remember, it was the TGA file, the Jeremy Root USA Firearms late model. There we go. Okay, there we go. We got pictures here. We'll do Aaron's front. We'll do Zimmy's back. There we go. Good looking car. So you'll have to put, if you do a public paint scheme, you have to put a picture in there to do it. The font is He Is Dead Jim on that. The first, let me check my colors on here just to be sure. Okay. Oh, I need to fix that too. No, that's another day though. My NRS car is incorrect. Click on that. It is He Is Dead Jim, and you can actually see the colors here. See these colors here? You click the card number, you can see all the numbers. So the first one is pure white, the second one is pure black, so we just go pure white, pure black. The third one, now the third color does have a specific color code that you need to see if I can get out of the way here, that you will need. So we're going to click that color, and as you can see here, see that? There's a color code here. So we're going to highlight it, we're going to copy it, we're going to bring it over here, we're going to put that in there, boom. Now it has the exact color red that Jeremy's going to need to run. Now the rim color on here is pure white, and they're chrome. Now the reason why we put this information in here is so that anyone that runs this car, this paint scheme, they can see my number, and if they're like, oh, I like the way that number looks or the wheels look, they can run that themselves. Now this isn't going to be a public scheme, it's going to be an unlisted one, so we're going to select that. And there we go. Jeremy's paint scheme is complete. And there we go. So there was a little quick tutorial about how to make a logo and how to put it on the card. Next time we do a GIMP tutorial, we are going to show you how to do the basic schemes, how to make a base scheme, how to make like cool like ziggy-zag designs and all that stuff like everyone else has. things like that. How to see how it's going to show up on the car. It's a lot of fun. Hey, I appreciate all you guys. Did it say error? Did it say error, Aaron? Oh, it better not have. Hold on. Oh yeah, we definitely got to hop into a... Oh, it did. Good catch, Aaron. Oh my goodness, good catch. Let's do this again. Let's do it one more time. You know what it is? I did not select... I didn't select the correct car type is what it was. Okay, this is very important that you select the vehicle. And it is the Chevy Monte Carlo SS Late Model. Okay, there's that. Pictures. Just put the pictures up there. We got the pictures. Boom. Now remember, the first one was He Is Dead Jim forward. It doesn't let you put forward or backward or anything like that, which is silly because that's very important. White, black. I just had the color code saved there. Rim color, white, chrome, unlisted, add to showroom.